want to.
After patiently waiting for 2 months, we finally have our second single from Breach, Drum Show. It continues the theme of this era of completely breaching all the Pilots' past established patterns, with this song being the first to explicitly talk about Josh. As per usual, I'll be giving my opinion and rating on this new single. I rate Drum Show a 9.5 out of 10. This song feels like next semester's sibling, and that song was already a banger. Before the video starts, I would like to give my usual disclaimer that this is my own interpretation of the song. I am in no way stating it is the only or correct one, and I highly encourage you to drop your own analyses in the comments. As aforementioned, this single is exclusively about Josh, if the title Drum Show was not already a dead giveaway. Furthermore, in a BBC Radio 1 interview done at the time the song was dropped, Josh gave a little bit more exposition on the meaning of the song itself.
Song, is it totally dedicated to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea is like high school, college, sort of like angst when you're driving to and from, school or work, and it's, music is kind of the only thing that you've got. And sometimes you just gotta get out all the aggression on the steering wheel.
This is a meaning that is clearly and bluntly presented within the lyrics, with Josh putting on a drum show in the car whilst listening to music. The action of getting invested in the music being enough to drown out what Josh dubbed as angst. In a way, it's not difficult to see why the Click have dubbed this song as being complimentary to Car Radio, a vessel song which documents Tyler's realization of how vital music is for staving off internal struggles. With that in mind, I have already received many questions as to what the point is for analysing the lyrics when they essentially wear their heart on their sleeve. That, and long-time viewers of the channel are probably already aware of my dislike regarding straightforward lyrics, given the difficulty of finding something else within them. To this very day, Routines in the Night still haunts my sleep and is probably, to date, my least favourite analysis I have done on this channel. Despite this, I do think there are some smaller details that help enhance the message that are not necessarily apparent without further analysis. For example, it is clear that the angst Josh is referring to is actually anxiety, or the struggles of suffering with anxiety. A song pertaining to Josh's struggles with anxiety isn't out of the question, considering he has spoken in depth about it and how drumming specifically has been a way to cope with it.
Been in and out of anxiety and had just this trouble. I don't like being the center of attention, which makes it sometimes hard to be in a two-person band. And kind of like when I was younger, what got me into the drums is I was like, dude, I can just hide behind this and I don't have to say anything, I don't have to sing or be in the front of the stage. And then that kind of shifted.
Firstly, a lot of structural methods portray the general presence of anxiety in the song. For example, in the bridge, the part of the song specifically where Josh sings, the verse is incredibly brief, being only 4 lines, each line having short sentences that consist only of 4 words each. This could almost depict a reluctance of Josh to speak and draw attention to himself and his struggles. This dislike of attention, let alone being the center of attention, is a common symptom of people with anxiety disorders. The lyrics, as already mentioned, are extremely blunt and open, and this level of open vulnerability parallels the feeling of raw, uncomfortable exposure, of having eyes on you, that anxiety can cause. There are also alternating pronouns throughout the song, switching from first, second, and third in a variety of the verses. Arguably, the sporadic alternation reflects a scattered, frenzied mind, something seen with the panicked, rapid thoughts caused by anxiety. Similarly, the end of the song has a caesura, a cutoff or interruption, with I want to, that also creates this same effect. The sudden, abrupt cutoff breaks the established flow and rhythm of the song, much like how anxiety breaks any period of calm to make it frenzied. There are also some lyrics that allude to anxiety as well. For example, the first verse starts with completed checklist for today, with the mention of a checklist possibly referring to the coping mechanism for anxiety, of utilizing checklists to prevent one from feeling overwhelmed, or assist them in getting through an event. This is then followed by "now they have to let you out of your cage," a statement that is a combination of a metaphor and personification. Logically, following the interpretation of the first line of how completing the checklist should stop or prevent anxiety, it makes sense that it is the anxiety that should let him go, should stop having a hold on him, should let him out of his cage. Even the usage of the noun cage helps to convey the presence of and this control anxiety has over Josh. A cage is somewhere you are forcibly trapped in against your will by someone else, a place where one is powerless. Added with the general notion of entrapment also bringing to mind feelings of claustrophobia, all of these effects and feelings are ones associated with anxiety, showcasing not only its presence in the song, but also the control over Josh. Further reinforcing this is the personification of anxiety with they, making it powerful, something tangible and in control. Finally, in the chorus, we have the line of "he'll never ever say so," which emphasizes and doubles down on Josh's intention to stay silent and not draw attention to himself, which we've already discussed is a common symptom of those suffering with anxiety, especially social anxiety. This isn't the only way the lyrics explore anxiety, however. There are two other ways it explores anxiety and its symptoms. The song features depictions of anxiety attacks and emotional dysregulation. Anxiety attacks are mainly depicted through structural techniques, much akin to Next Semester and The Contract. The structure across the song as a whole can be described as brief. The first verse and bridge are both only 4 lines, with the bridge also containing short sentences. The second verse is 5 lines, but has a shorter sentence within it. Turns it up. There's also the brief post-chorus line of just "show." Altogether, this fairly brief structure emulates a sense of being short of breath, or having clipped speech, much like during an anxiety attack. An effect that is also illustrated with the incomplete sentences scattered across the song. Sentences missing words such as "completed checklist for today," "turns it up," and "show." The rhyme scheme, meanwhile, is one that devolves as the song goes on. The first verse follows an A-A-B-B structure, the chorus an A-B-A-B-C-D-E structure, and the second verse has an A-A-B-C-C structure. It grows from being stable to devolving, or having a little hiccup in the middle, which can not only reflect stuttered, irregular breathing with an anxiety attack, but just a general out-of-control spiral into anxiety. Finally, a semantic field of imprisonment is subtly littered throughout the lyrics. Cage and stuck, 2 places, which again implies entrapment because it shows limited choices, no freedom, and feeling stuck between a rock and a home, a reference to the idiom "stuck between a rock and a hard place," which means to be stuck between 2 undesirable options. This semantic field not only accentuates that claustrophobic feeling associated with anxiety, but its presence throughout the lyrics almost doubles down on the idea of feeling imprisoned, because its presence is constant and consuming throughout the lyrics, emphasizing that lack of escape. Emotional dysregulation, on the other hand, is a symptom of anxiety that isn't commonly talked about, largely because it is a symptom also seen in other disorders, such as depression or PTSD. It is the inability or the difficulty to appropriately regulate and respond with one's emotions. It can lead to emotional outbursts, but in the context of drum show, it's a term that can also refer to a feeling of constant numbness. For example, completed checklist for today can be taken more literally, with a checklist referring to a list of tasks needed to be done during work. Checklists often bring connotations of rigidity, rules, coldness, a task being dull, and these notions are also seen in feeling stuck between a rock, as a rock is a lifeless object also known for its lack of flexibility. Together, this lifelessness can reflect a lack of feeling, of numbness. This is also doubled down with the lyric "he'd rather feel something than nothing at all," in general, showcasing how driving almost recklessly, he is swerving, whilst listening to music, his head starts to fall, helps him to feel something as opposed to the usual numbness that is felt. And finally, in the chorus, we have the repetition of "feel it." This repetition showing the desperation to feel something, anything. This is a struggle that still persists to this day. The repetition of "even now" and "I've been this way" convey this, alongside the caesura at the end of the song further implying that these struggles are unresolved, much like how the lyrics do not fully complete. Meanwhile, Josh's want to get rid of these struggles still is also one conveyed through repetition with "drown it out" and "I want to change," emphasizing desperation to get rid of this anxiety. Furthermore, with "I want to change," the imperative of want does show a will and determination to get better. Finally, the lyrics do present music as the optimal coping mechanism for Josh's struggles. The lyrics of "he's putting on a drum show" not only reference him hitting the steering wheel whilst listening to music, but a show is a form of performance. A place to typically expect attention to be on you or attracted to you. As seen in the earlier clip, Josh has stated that playing drums helps him to cope with his anxiety, because he can merely hide behind the drums. And him putting on a drum show in the lyrics, despite already establishing lyrically a dislike for attention, shows just how effective music is at helping cope with anxiety. That he doesn't feel that sense of fear he normally does. There's also the lyric of "drown it out" in the chorus, a phrase typically used to mean to block something out so it can no longer be heard or registered. However, "drown" specifically is quite a violent verb. It means to essentially kill something, showing how music not only just consumes his anxiety to the point it cannot be registered, but it almost actively kills or silences it, thus showcasing it as a powerful yet effective coping mechanism. The rest of the song that conveys music as a perfect coping mechanism are particularly structural. For example, enjambment is seen quite prominently in this song, specifically consistently in the first few lines of the chorus, which creates a flowing quality, potentially illustrating how music brings a sense of calm to Josh. There is the juxtaposition of he drives fast just to feel it, he drives slow if his song's not over. These two lyrics are complete opposite ends of the spectrum from one another, showcasing how music has helped to fight this notion of being stuck in between two places, feeling numb and nothingness, allowing him to experience more. The blunt language in the song exemplifies how music has become an outlet for Josh, expressing what he cannot. Something that is also repeated with Tyler interrupting Josh at the end of the bridge and screaming "change." In a way, he acts as Josh's voice. He vocalizes specifically what Josh feels, how, and to what extent. To surmise, Drum Show is about struggling with anxiety, and how these struggles exclusively manifest as anxiety attacks and emotional dysregulation. The song details how music acts as a coping mechanism for these struggles that do persist to this day. Much like many of the Pilots' non-law music videos, Drum Show is incredibly simple in premise, and complements the message of the song itself. It features Josh driving and performing a little drum show by hitting his hands against the car wheel. There are a few little neat details, however. Regarding the general theme of anxiety, the music video also takes place in a car park, which not only picks up the narrative thread of leaving work mentioned in Josh's explanation of the song, but this vast, open and empty space honestly reminds me of the type of atmosphere seen in the back rooms. I'm not even the first to call it out. Many people jokingly noted similar observations when the teaser livestream was first dropped. The setting of this music video consequently creates a sense of unease, and that unsettled feeling can be associated with the feeling of fear or unease caused by anxiety. In addition to this, in a few shots across the music video, we see Josh looking into the rearview mirror where two red lights are nearly always present. These red lights are reminiscent of eyes constantly watching Josh from behind him, which adds to this growing sense of anxiety. It also must be noted that the choice of these lights, these eyes being red, can be considered as a callback to Blurryface, a manifestation of internal struggles and insecurities given his red eyes. This portrays the ever-present nature of anxiety, how it's always there in the background behind Josh, and how it is always keeping its eye on him. Finally, there are also the shots of Josh drumming inside the car, which do come across as quite claustrophobic given the cramped space. Another reminder of that feeling of suffocation seen with anxiety. However, there are also details that show just how important music has been to Josh in coping with his struggles. In the car itself, there are Polaroids of the behind the scenes of the Navigating music video, as confirmed by Mark. And there are also the headphones from Chlorine. These mementos from songs Josh has essentially created reinforces how important music is to him. The music he listens to hasn't just helped him cope, but the prospect of creating music has helped him cope as well. These items being in the car with him suggests that this car is a safe space, filled with music-related objects to show how it has always accompanied him and comforted him. Moreover, Tyler being in the back seat, like that one Ballet Brigada song, could reflect how Josh puts his struggles in the back seat. Doesn't vocalize them, since Tyler is the one singing about Josh's struggles. But it could also show how music has always accompanied Josh and vocalized what he cannot. As stated in the lyrics analysis, Tyler in the song acts as Josh's voice, much like music has in general. And that's it for the drum show analysis. It feels like forever since I've last done a language analysis video, so hopefully this didn't come across— I know it's been like a few months, but just hopefully this didn't come across as too rusty, because it just feels like a long time. I'm recording this on the 2nd of September, probably to release by the end of this week, so Breach is coming out soon. How are we doing? Me personally, I'm just choosing to bury myself in work and start planning out where I go once the album releases in regards to analysis and lore explainers, etc, etc. I am fully in the denial stage of grief at the moment. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this analysis, and thank you for watching!